being made there. You can see the skin's just slightly lifted in that on the approach. You can see just to the bottom of the suction probe, the skin there, slightly raised, and that's where I'm right now. I have to make contact with that just to get access into the hole, but we're so gentle. My auntie, it didn't feel a thing. And again, she's forcing all this discharge out, and I've cleaned that grommet. You can see it's patent again. And once more, we're going to repeat the cycle. So it's closing on that. So it's using the Otovet nasal balloon. And at this stage, we know we're clearing a lot of the debris out. So you can see a lot of air bubbles there. So it's just a little bit of debris, so we're going to mop that up. And what my auntie would do is, I'd put the drops in for her, and we'll tilt the head to the side, so we know the drops is going inside the grommet, entering the middle ear. Otherwise, the infection's not going to be treated. So I'm just suctioning around the grommet. You can see there's a bit of discharge there. And then my auntie would use the prescribed ciprofloxacin drops at home 3 times a day. And then a couple of days later, it should come back, and we'll just repeat this process. The infection, it really did affect her. So when you've got an ear infection like this, or any ear infection really in your ear, unless you've had an ear infection, it's very hard to describe. I mean, I have had an infection before, but not to this severity, and it can really affect your day-to-day routine. Typically, it's worse in the mornings, and I'll explain why it is as well. So there's a lot for me to explain, I think, so far. But I will explain why this is worse at night and in the morning. So you wake up with a blocked ear, and she was getting discharge every night on her pillow, so it's not obviously a nice thing to wake up to. The discharge can be quite smelly as well. It can be a bit of an offensive foul odour to it. So again, of course, if we're having that coming out of our ears, we're not going to be happy. And she can't hear from this side. It's painful at times, and you just feel lopsided. You just feel heavy on one side of your head because you've got fluid behind the eardrum. What I'm doing here, I'm just trying to mop up around the entrance. As I mentioned, at night it was weeping, so some of the discharge would crystallise in the outside part of her ear. So this is visit 6 now, and it was a couple of days later, and you can see there's a bit of discharge there. So once more, we're going to mop up now. You may be able to begin to see on the peripheral part, the ear canal, there's white flaking of skin, and that's just a normal residue that occurs when you use these particular drops. I'll just come back to that. So I got my auntie to use the balloon. You can see she's forced out this really thick discharge. It's getting thicker than previous occasions. That could mean 2 things, however. It could mean that the infection's getting worse. When you've got fluid behind the eardrum, normally it's quite watery. And as the infection develops, it becomes thicker, it becomes more viscous. Hence the term glue, because that fluid eventually turns like glue. It's very thick, viscous, and sticky. So it could be that the infection is worsening. On the other hand, however, it could be that because the drops is getting through the grommet, is drying up the ear. And you can see the outer part of the ear canal is becoming drier because of the drops that they're using. Ciprofloxacin has this effect. And I've got another client, and I know they're going to be watching this because they attend on a monthly basis. They have a grommet as well. They've got a T-chew, a long-term grommet. And their situation is slightly different. They occasionally get an infection, but not as severe as this. Their main issue is that